Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharva Gidai Shradana Bihari Juki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Stuta Sata Shishi Mad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nichilila Vishnupada Stuta Sata Shishi Mad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nichilila Vishnupada Stuta Sata Shishi Mad Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nichilil Vishnu Pad Astata Sada Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maj Papada Ki Jai. Nichilil Vishnu Pad Astata Sada Shishimad Bhakti Pagyan Keshava Goswami Maj Ki Jai. Nichilil Vishnu Pad Astata Sada Shishimad Bhakti Vakshak Shilashida Goswami Maj Ki Jai. Nichilil Vishnu Pad Astata Sada Shishila Bhakti Santa Saraswati Goswami Maj Papada Ki Jai. Ma Bhagavad Shishlako Kishodas Goswami Maj Ki Jai. Satchidanjali Shilabhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatam Bhattavaganav Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. And it's Srila Jiva Goswami Pad. I think it's Tirubhav Titi, is it? Or Abhibhav Titi Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai. Jai Shri Srup Damadai Ramananda Jishko Prashad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharish Lahavidas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Shiko Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Navadvip Dhamma Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopa Govardhana Shivanatmaka Shri Raja Mandala Ki Jai. Shri Shama Kunda Radha Kunya Munaganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Ki Jai. Shri Mati Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Gopishkama Devi Ki Jai. Shri Guraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Asasaki Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Astamanjari Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Vajrastashan Ju Ki Jai. Shri Nishinga Bhagavan Prabhu Ki Jai. Bhakta Pravashi Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Charadam Charasamadaya Chara Chara Ki Jai. Shri Vamandev Vibhav Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Gurudev Vani Vaishnavi Pracar Zoom program Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari. So Nalini Didi and Bhajan, would you like to sing today? Thank you. On mute there.
Yeah. Haribo, Hare Krishna. And thank you for inviting me on in the program. I think today's Akadashi, and Vamanadev appearance.
Not Akadashi, it's Dwadashi, Vaman Dwadashi.
Vaman Dwadashi and Srila Jiva Goswami's appearance, I think, as well.
Right.
So I'm going to sing Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore, page 96 in our songbook.
Yeah.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore Toma bina ke doyalo jagata samsare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya karo more Toma bina ke doyalo Jagata samsare Patita pavana hetu Tavaya vajara Patita pavana hetu Tavaya vajara samapatita prabhu na koibe ara mo samapatita prabhu na koibe ara Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Toma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Volopana Karo Ami Baro Dukhi Kripa Volopana Karo Ami Baro Dukhi Daya Karo Sitapati Advaita Goswami Daya Karo Sitapati Advaita Goswami Tava Kripa Bhane Pai Chaitanya Nitai Tava Kripa Bhane Pai Chaitanya Nitai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Toma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare Daya Karo Gadadhara Premera Sadhara Daya Karo Gadadhara Premera Sadhara Shri Shivasa Hari Dasa Moni Kripa Karo Shri Shivasa Hari Dasa Moni Kripa Karo Swarup Sanatana Rupara Gunatha Swarup Sanatana Rupara Gunatha Gata Juga Shivaha Prabhu Lokanatha Bhata Juga Shivaha Prabhu Lokanatha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Toma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare Daya Karo Shriachara Prabhu Srivasa Daya Karo Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangha Mage Narottam Dasa Ramachandra Sangha Mage Narottam Dasa Daya Karo Prabhu Pada Siddharita Dasa Vaishnavi Kripa Mage Radhamadasa Daya Karo Gurudeva Patita Pavana Shri Charane Seva Mage Patita Dana Shri Charane Seva Mage Patita Dana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Toma Bina Ke Dayalo Jagata Samsare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More Toma Bina Ke Dayalo Jagata Samsare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Jiva Goswami Srila Jiva Goswami Jiva Goswami Srila Jiva Goswami Jirupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan Jaya Rupa Sanatan Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bol. Thank you.
So beautiful, very, very sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nalini. And if you're still around at the end, it'd be nice if you could sing again. But if you're around, it's going to be a little late, maybe. But okay. All right, thanks, Diddy. Now we can start. Just do some Mangala Charana to begin. Om Gina Tamandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshumlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Radhikaya Priyapane Shishimata Bhaktivedanta Narayanitti Namine. Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Himapyadivya Charisandaraya Tasmama Premarasa Padaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Shama Sundara Sikanda Sekara Smarasha Murali Manoha Radhikarasika Mankripa Nidhi Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Karu Tavai Vashmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vignaya Te Tvam Nayamam Charanantike Bhaktya Vina Parada Lakshai Shipchas Jakamadi Tarangamaje Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Papanam Vinde Namaste Charanavindam Vanchakaparubhyascha Kripasinnabevacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaur Bhaktavinda Jai Shri Rup Shri Sanatam Bhattaraganath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattata Saraganath. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to this week's Gurudeva Vaishnavi Pracar, and we have Shrimati Bhadra Didi and Shrimati Bela Didi all the way from New Zealand, the other side of the world, us. So we're very, very happy to welcome them both. And I think first, Bhadra Didi, are you going to speak first? Okay, great. So just to give a little introduction to Bhadra Didi, for those who don't know her, she lived as a brahmacharini in temples in Melbourne, Sydney and Murwillumbah when she first joined many years ago. She's been a devotee for over 40 years. So she was one of the early pioneers of the new Govardhan community in Murwillumbah in Australia, where Gurudev visited many times, many years. And she married there in 1977. That was and the same year she got Diksha mantras from Srila Prabhupada himself. So she also pioneered at the new Varshana farming community that's north of Auckland in New Zealand. And she spent a lot of her life living very simply, in austere conditions with no electricity, no proper bathroom, and so on for many, many months, even years at a time. So real brahmacharini. But then later she married. She had 3 children, Gadadhar, Dhruva Das and Vrinda Dasi, who are all practicing devotees today. Some of you may know them. And over the years, apart from rearing her family, she did many different services like cooking and sewing for the temple deities. And around the late 80s, she became somewhat distanced from the management authorities, and her family and her moved away from the temple community, got their own home, began a prasadam distribution business, and she managed that for many years, like 10 years or so. So following Srila Prabhupada's instructions to get land and live simply, in 1994, she acquired an acreage in the foothills of the mountain range in New Zealand, moving on to it in 2000, and they all began to cultivate that. And then the community comprises, like Bela Didi was saying before, 3 families of Gurudev's disciples, and one of them being her son Dhruva and his wife Bela Didi, who we have here today, is going to be speaking, and they have 3 children. So after hearing Srila Gurudeva for many years and getting so much inspiration from him, then she finally met him in 2002. And that time, her and her family took shelter of him from that time, except for her eldest son, who had taken shelter, that's Gadadhar, who had taken shelter of Srila Bhakti-Vakshak Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So her and her family traveled in India and other places to be with Srila Gurudeva whenever they could, until he finally left this world in 2010. And nowadays, apart from sadhan, studying the scriptures and serving Gaurnitai deities, which were given Pramadishta by Srila Gurudeva himself. She's also doing outreach programs, and her main interests are studying Sanskrit grammar and language and Vedic psychology. So, okay, without further ado, we're extremely honored to have Bhadra Didi here, and she'll be speaking on Jiva Tattva. Is that right, Bhadra Didi?
Yes, that's right, Didi.
Okay, and a warm welcome.
Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. She's very old devotee and very good speaker, so looking forward to her talk today. Okay, Didi, so take it away.
Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschakti Deshitarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane Gurudeva Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tirale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. My humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here today. Thank you for coming, and especially Charu Chandrika Didi for organizing this program. I'm really happy and inspired to be here. And I'm going to speak, or attempt to speak, on a very deep and fascinating subject, Jiva Tattva. Now this pertains to all of us because we're all Jivas, and it's a very deep subject. And Gurudev said that although it may seem kind of too complex and inconceivable, we should stick with it and learn it, because it's a very important tattva to know, the science of our own soul and how we got here, and where we're going and how we can get out, etc., out of material existence. So earlier, many of us thought that the jiva fell from Vaikuntha. And that was because Srila Prabhupada had insinuated that. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said three things about the jiva. He said, or insinuated, or he did actually say directly, that the jiva fell from Vaikuntha. He said that the jiva fell from Tatastha, which of course is the true understanding, or came from Tatastha. We are Tatastha. And he said that it's inconceivable. Don't bother about trying to work it out or think about it. Just be concerned. Don't be concerned about how you got here, but be concerned about how to get out. That's what he said to us. Now, just before I go on, I'd just like to say that my two gurus, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev, are so kind of entwined in my spiritual life, my whole life and spiritual life experience, that I can't glorify one without glorifying the other. So I'll be quoting from both. I'm quoting from both, because certainly my understanding of Jiva Tattva was really given by Gurudev, but at the same time, the roots of it were in what I learned from Srila Prabhupada. And we can understand that how the Puranas, the 18 Puranas, they have six of them are dedicated to the mode of goodness, 6 are dedicated to Rajas, the mode of passion, and 6 are dedicated to Tamas, the mode of ignorance. So there's different levels of Siddhanta for different levels of development of the jiva. And as Gurudev said to the GBC people who were listening to him in the late 80s and early 90s, he said, not all Siddhantas are equal. there are Siddhantas for neophytes and Siddhantas for advanced devotees. So in that light, we can appreciate the glory and expertise of our Srila Prabhupada and the way he dealt with the subject of Jiva Tattva. It was, he used what's known as Shaka Chandra Nyai, moon on the branch logic. It's like someone might say, oh, look at the moon, it's over there on the branch of the tree. Well, of course, the moon's not actually on the branch of the tree, but it's a nyai or a logic, Shaka Chandra Nyai, to give the general idea or the general direction of something. So that Shaka Chandra Nyai, moon on the branch logic, was used quite a bit by Srila Prabhupada, particularly around Jiva Tattva. So it wasn't until I came to Srila Gurudev that Jiva Tattva really became clear to me. So so now I believe, it's my assessment, that because in those days we were so, in those the 60s and the 70s, everybody who came was, you know, mostly all hippies, immersed in sense gratification from top to bottom, and so that was all we could understand, and we were happy with that explanation for a few decades. But I assess now that because of all the preaching that's been done, all the prasadam distribution, all the book distribution for so many decades, what to speak of Mahabhagavats having walked on the planet, the adhikar of the people whose sukriti is rising, those who are coming to Mahaprabhu's mission nowadays, they're ready to hear Jiva Tattva explained the way our Gurudev explained it. So the moon on the branch logic, as far as Jiva Tattva goes, is now redundant. So 1 second. Just going to my next page of notes. So I'm mostly speaking from this wonderful book. Is that visible? Beautiful book by Gurudev, which is a compilation of
Little up, little more up, yeah.
Up,
yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Compilation of his lectures on Jiva Tattva. So it's a vast subject, and I'm just skimming the main points, starting with Krishna's Shaktis. Now there are 3 of them, although actually there's only one, we understand. There's one Shakti, the Swarup Shakti, Krishna's Shakti, Swarup Shakti, but according to its different functions, it has different names. There's the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external potency, or first of all, the Swarup Shakti has different names. It has Chit Shakti and Antaranga Shakti. That's the internal potency, Krishna's own internal potency. There's also the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external potency, or the material, Maya Shakti, the material world. And then there's the midway Shakti, the middle potency, the Tathastha Shakti. And the living entities, at least the living entities of our kind, are manifested from or by the Tathastha Shakti. We are the Tathastha Shakti. And Tathastha means middle, midway point. It's the energy, the Shakti that's situated between the Chit Jagat and the Achit Jagat, the spiritual and the material worlds. So it's, as I said, it's non-different from the Antaranga Shakti. It's just that it has a different purpose. And how is it non-different? It's non-different because the Jivas, the Tathastha Jivas, have no separate existence from Krishna. Although they're somewhat separated, they have no separate existence from Krishna. And this is when we apply the term Achintya Bhedabhed, meaning the Jivas are the same as and yet different from the Lord. So not all Jivas are Tathastha. And we can see in this diagram, I hope I can show it to you. 1 second. This amazing diagram, which makes it really clear. Is that visible? Is that visible? we can see the three, Baladev, Maha Sankarshan, or Mula Sankarshan and Maha Sankarshan, all the jivas of Vaikuntha planets and the spiritual world come from them. And then from Maha Sankarshan come the three Purush avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And it's from Mahavishnu, or Karanadakshay Vishnu, that all the Tatastha Jivas emanate. Some of them make the good choice, the proper choice, and go to Krishna, to serve Krishna, which is their eternal constitutional position. And others make the poor choice, as we all did, and come down to the Achit Jagat, the material world. So that, I think, thank you to the devotees who got this diagram together, because it makes it very nice and clear for us to see. So all these jivas, all the jivas who come from Baladev, Mul Sankarshana, Maha Sankarshana, and Karanadakshay Vishnu are referred to as Vibhinangsha Tattva. So both the jivas who exist eternally in the spiritual world and the jivas who are tatastha and make the choice either to go to the spiritual world or come to the material world are referred to as the Vibhinangsha Tattva. So Angsha means expansions of Krishna, and Vibhinna means separated. So what does separated mean? Because we're not really separated. We, as we said before, we can't even move. We owe our total existence in every way to the Lord. So my Guru Srila Prabhupada explained that it's like when somebody is speaking, like I'm speaking now, and the words are being recorded. So, but later when the recording is played, it'll be the same, it'll sound the same, but it's separated from me, it's separated from the speaker. So that was an example that Prabhupada gave to give the understanding of what Vibhinna or Vibhinangsha means, the separated energy from Krishna. It's connected and yet it's separate as well. And there's another example of the Chintamani stone. Chintamani. Chinta means thought or desire, and mani means jewel. And the Chintamani, as we know, can manifest anything. Whatever comes from it is separate from it, but it owes its existence to it. So in this way, the Vibhinangsha Jivas owe their existence to Krishna and at the same time are separate from him. So the Jiva's constitutional position and his eternal function. The Nitya Dharma, or the eternal function of the Jiva, is servitorship to Krishna. When Srila Sanatana Goswami asked Mahaprabhu, "Who am I?" Mahaprabhu replied, "Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Beda Bed Prakash, Suryang Sakiran Yache Agni Jwala Chaya Swabhavika Krishnera Tina Prakara Shakti Haya." Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatana Goswami of the living entity's natural constitutional position and explaining in a nutshell the things we've gone over. And he says it's the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna. Why? Because he's the marginal energy of Krishna. So he is one of Krishna's energies. He's a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire. That's another graphic analogy to describe the oneness and difference of the Jiva to Krishna, like a molecular particle of sunshine or fire given directly from Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu says that he mentions that Krishna has three varieties of energy, which we just mentioned. So Mahaprabhu is telling he's telling Sanatana Goswami Jiva Tattva in a nutshell in that verse. You're a pure spirit soul, you're not your gross or material bodies, you're eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and therefore you are his eternal servant. Krishna has three energies, Antaranga, Bahiranga, and Tatastha. And you, Sanatana, are the Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy between the material and spiritual worlds, having a relationship with both. You are simultaneously one with and different from Krishna, one in quality, and being very minute, you are different, like the fire compared to the spark. So in Jivadharma, I'm not sure if this analogy originates from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Jivadharma, or whether he took it from the Vedas, I don't know. But in Jivadharma, the example is given of water. Water's natural state is liquidity. But when it's put into an unnatural condition and becomes extremely cold, it freezes and it changes its constitution altogether and becomes solid, becomes a block of ice. So this is a good analogy to explain or indicate the jiva's natural state compared to his conditioned state. Natural state being in loving devotional service to Krishna, and the conditioned state or abnormal, unnatural state being the servant of Maya or his own senses in the material world. When we misuse our independence, we get thrown far from Krishna and receive a gross material body with so many desires, and that's the simile to becoming like ice. There are so many verses in Shastra which describe this position and condition of the jiva. And the same information has been given again and again in different ways. For instance, in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 7, Krishna says, Mamai Vanksho Jivaloke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manashastani Indriyani, Prakriti Stani Kaushati. And looking closely at this, Mamai Vanksho. Mama means my, and Anksha here refers to the Vibhinangsha, or the fragmental parts. Krishna says they're mine. These fragmental parts are mine. Mamai Vanksho Jivaloke. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So the next thing that arises then is, why did the jiva look towards Maya? Why make that choice? If our intrinsic nature is to serve Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna, Nitya Swarup Krishna Das, why did we look towards Maya? Because Krishna gives us independence. We have independence as a jiva. We're not we are totally under Krishna's control, and we're given independence. So we can choose. The independence consists of the choice between serving Krishna or serving Maya. And at every minute we experience that. Not just every day, not just every hour, but every minute we can make the choice to serve Maya or Krishna. So when the jiva when the Tatastha jiva is given to make the choice, he does so. He either makes the right choice, as we saw, or the wrong choice. Now, why make that wrong choice? Because somehow or other we think, oh, I can enjoy, it's my right to enjoy. Look at that beautiful material world over there. I can be a king. I can be God myself. And Gurudeva said, I could have a beautiful wife, a beautiful husband. And he said, little children, mummy, mama. All these things that apparently seem to be so attractive. And the jiva looks towards Maya with a favorable impression, and immediately he's gone. He's a goner into the material energy. And although the jiva was expecting enjoyment, he actually got unending suffering in various forms or degrees. Even enjoyment in this world. You know, sometimes we say to people, this is a world of suffering. And they say, no, it's not. You know, I have a lot of enjoyment in my life. Well, it's illusory enjoyment. Yes, there does seem to be some happiness here, but when you meet a Mahabhagavat and become just a little bit aware of the truth of Krishna, become Krishna conscious, then we can perceive that the happiness here is actually just another form of suffering. Just as in the transcendental world, in the spiritual world, there's apparently suffering there, but it's actually a form of bliss. It's a form of ecstatic bliss. So the opposite applies in the material world. Suffering is suffering, and happiness is also suffering in this world. So Sukadeva Goswami's explanation to Maharaj Parikshit in the 11th canto, excuse me, is a good one. Bhayam vitya biniveshata syad ishara pitasya viparyo smiti tanmayato buddha abhajetang bhaktyayesha Gurudeva tatma. Sukadeva Goswami gives an explanation of what happens. The first line of the shloka goes, fear arises when the living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy. Fear arises. There's a feeling of apprehension, dis-ease. And we can all experience that as conditioned souls. No matter how happy we are, somehow in our gut, there's always some feeling of lack and dis-ease. And the second line of that shloka, Ishara Pitasya Viparyo Smriti, indicates the jiva standing on the line between the spiritual and the material worlds. We stood on the shoreline, as Gurudeva said, a poetic allegory, although of course we know that tatasta means the shoreline. Tata means the shoreline between two places. So that line, Ishara Pitasya Viparyo Smriti, is pointing to that, how we stood on the shoreline and made that wrong choice. And it's been translated in this way: when the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. Forget that. Just completely forget that. And then in the next two lines, Srila Sukadeva Goswami gives the solution. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide guru, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 7, verse 27, Krishna says, Ichcha dvesha sumuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarve yanti parantapa. O Scion of Bharat, Arjun, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. So that means as soon as we come into this material world, it's like, dislike, right, wrong, love, hate, longing, desire, frustration. These dualities of the material world, Ichcha, Dvesha. we become covered by the subject to these dualities in the material world. As soon as we enter the material atmosphere, as soon as we make that poor choice, immediately that avidya, ignorance, the cause of forgetfulness of spiritual life and of Krishna as the reality, immediate forgetfulness of all that. Now, I'd just like to tell an interesting allegory in this connection from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, the allegory of King Puranjana. It's the story of a king, and there are a few other characters in the story, and they all indicate the condition, the soul, and the conditioned jiva. The king himself, King Puranjana, indicates he is the soul in the allegory, the jiva soul. And the jiva enters the city of 9 gates, which is the body. The body has 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, a mouth, rectum, and genital. Those are the 9 gates of the body. So this is the city of 9 gates. The king entered the city of 9 gates. And the city is very, very beautiful. It's got lovely palaces and lovely gateways and beautiful decorated roadways and pathways and gardens and lovely architecture and windows. And all these things mean something. It's all in the Bhagavatam, but I'm cutting it short. They all indicate different aspects of our conditioned being. The windows indicate the eyes, for instance, and the walls of the city indicate the skin on the body. So the king is walking through his city and he meets a beautiful woman. And he's walking in the park, actually. He's walking in one of the beautiful parks of the city. And he sees this beautiful woman coming, beautiful young woman coming towards him. And she has an entourage with her. Wait a minute, where are my notes here? This is really, I really like this. It's quite a classic allegory. She has 10 servants with her, and each has many desire. The 10 servants of the woman indicate the 10 senses, and the woman herself indicates the intelligence. The woman is the intelligence. Her 10 servants are the 10 senses, and she has with her also a 5-hooded snake, which indicates the 5 kinds of life air working within the body. So the king walks up to this beautiful woman with her 10 servants and the 5-headed snake, and he says, he's struck by her, and he says, "Beautiful woman, where have you come from? Who are you? Whose daughter are you?" And she says to him, she looks at him very shyly, and she's also attracted to him, and she says, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I came from. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even know these people who are with me. All I know is that they are my friends. So this kind of indicates that when we come to the material world, we immediately get this material intelligence, which is part of the Mahatattva. The soul links up with its the material intelligence, and doesn't know who he is. We forget our identity. We completely forget our identity. So our intelligence can only become refined and properly developed, become into actual proper intelligence when we meet a Mahabhagavat devotee. But before I finish the allegory about King Puranjana, I just want to read, I'll only take a minute, I just want to read this 5 shlokas together from the Bhagavatam, describing how the intelligence, the material intelligence, leads the soul around in the material world, leads the soul around to fulfill material desires within the world. When the queen drank liquor, King Puranjana also engaged in drinking. When the queen dined, he used to dine with her. And when she chewed, King Puranjana chewed along with her. When the queen sang, he also sang. Similarly, when the queen cried, he also cried. When the queen laughed, he also laughed. When the queen talked loosely, he also talked loosely. And when the queen walked, the king walked behind her, indicating the soul just being led along by the material intelligence. When the queen would stand still, the king would stand still. And when the queen would lie down in bed, he would also lie down with her. When the queen sat, he would also sit. And when the queen heard something, he would follow her to hear the same thing. When the queen saw something, the king would also look at it. And when the queen smelled something, the king would also follow her to smell the same thing. When the queen touched something, the king would also touch it. And when the dear queen was lamenting, the poor king also had to follow her in lamentation. In this way, when the queen felt enjoyment, he also enjoyed. And when the queen was satisfied, the king also felt satisfaction. So those group of 5 shlokas indicate how the intelligence engages with the senses in so many different ways, and the soul is just led along by it in this illusioned, conditioned state. So yes, my Srila Prabhupada gave a very nice analogy. I remember this from what's one of the very first things I remember when I first came to Bhakti. He said that when your hands are tied behind your back, you can't untie yourself. You've got no hope of untying yourself. The only way that you can get untied is if somebody who's already untied comes along and unties you. So this is how we understand the meeting, how essential it is to meet a Mahabhagavat devotee. And that's our only hope of getting freed from this illusory condition. I just wanted to say one more thing. Have we got many more minutes, Charu Didi? Or should I finish now?
No, speak for another 5 or so minutes.
Okay. This is just a little insight I had recently about considering the allegory of King Puranjana. I had this little insight. Maybe it's not my original insight. Maybe many others have also had this insight. I don't know. But anyway, I'd never heard it from anyone. It just came to me that the story of Adam and Eve in the Old Testament of the Bible could be the same kind of allegory. Adam being the spirit soul, Eve being the intelligence, the forbidden fruit in the garden being Maya, the material world, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil being the dualities of the material world, Icha, Dvesha, good and evil, the dualities. The snake represents the enticing of the illusory energy. Yeah, come and enjoy me, come on. It looks good here. Get a nice, beautiful husband, a beautiful wife, etc. And which the Eve, the intelligence, makes the poor choice and turns away from God, because God has said, you can eat whatever you like here from any tree, but don't eat from that one tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But the intelligence does make that choice. It's like making the poor choice to serve the material energy instead of serve Krishna. And as soon as that choice is made, they're kicked out of the garden into pain and bewilderment. And they become aware of their nakedness, which is like getting a material body and starting to think, the Swarup Brahm, the misidentification that we are the body comes, along with all desires, primarily sex desire and so many desires, pain and torment. So that little insight came to me about Adam and Eve, which gave me to think that the writers of the Old Testament must have had contact with Vedic information, if my assessment there is correct. So thank you very much, everyone, devotees, for allowing me to express or attempt to express on this very deep and fascinating subject of Guru Tattva, and try to echo something taught by our Gurudevs and the Gaudiya Guru Parampara, about the vast and fascinating subject of Jiva Tattva. Gaur Premanande. Vaishnavi Namo Namaha.
Very, very nice, Bhadraditi. Wow, you covered a lot in that talk. Just to reflect. Wow, it's amazing what you covered, actually. So, yeah, you started off by saying that this is such a very deep and fascinating subject, very important for us to know. This Jiva Tattva, and Srila Prabhupada would always emphasize that actually, some devotees are concerned with how did we get here? How did we become so entangled in this material world? And he said it's not so important to understand that, but understand, or be concerned with how to get out. So we've learned a lot from Srila Prabhupada's teachings, and you expressed that very well. And of course, we also learned so much from Srila Gurudeva's teachings on this subject matter. And, Srila Gurudev, he wanted to, go a bit deeper for us to get a really good grasp of where we actually came from. Even though Srila Prabhupada said, we back home, back to Godhead, which has been, somewhat misunderstood. Actually, we couldn't probably understand that as, Maha Sankarshan, as you were saying, Karanadakshay Vishnu. We're coming from there, and the jivas going to be wound up in there again. But actually, he is an expansion of Krishna. But really, ultimately we want to go to our real home, which is hopefully Goloka Vrindavan, for those jivas who have that swarup, but you were saying, giving many really good examples from Jiva Dharma, how we've become entangled in this world, but it's an unnatural condition that we're in, just like water in its natural state is liquid, but in an unnatural state, it very extreme cold temperature, it becomes ice. So in the same way, the jiva has come in this unnatural condition in this material world, and struggling for existence. So the example that you gave of Puranjan also, that was like such a good example there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And how we're the Puranjan's like the soul, and that lady that he was attracted to is like the intelligence, and how the intelligence is leading the way for tempting. We're tempted to enjoy in this material world so many sensual objects surrounding. So but actually in that allegory that's there in Bhagavatam, Puranjan did finally wake up. So, we want to actually come to the point of waking up to who we really are. Eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. We've forgotten since time immemorial. But how will we wake up, and how will we become free from the entanglement of this material world? You were saying only by the mercy of a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav Guru. So anyway, I think you covered so much in such a short time. It's really amazing, and you explained very, very, very nicely with so many good examples, and I'm sure there'll be questions. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Maybe they could write in the chat, either on Zoom or Facebook, and Karuna Didi can pick them up and we can put them to Bhadra Didi after, if that's okay. Will you still be here after?
Yes, I'll be here. I'm
Okay.
a little bit nervous about asking questions. I highly doubt my qualification to be able to answer them, but I'll face the challenge.
No, I'm sure you're very, very qualified, and you've studied this subject and heard it for so many years. So yeah, Taruni Didi's saying she has a question. Taruni Didi, is it okay if you can ask that at the end, or do you really feel like you need to ask it now? End. She said okay, end. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so then we can now go on to our next speaker, which is Bhadra Devi Dasi Didi.
No, not me.
I mean,
Oh,
Bhadra,
sorry.
sorry. Oh, Bela. It's late here. Okay, Bela Didi.
Okay.
Bela Devi Didi. I've got Bhadra Didi on my mind. So thank you so much, Bhadra Didi. That was so excellent. Such an excellent presentation. Very, very good. Okay, thanks, Didi. So Karuna Didi, if you'd like to introduce Bela Didi, that'd be great.
Okay, my pleasure. So Bela Didi lived in Germany for the first 25 years of her life. She started chanting in 2001, received Harinam and Diksha from Srila Gurudeva in Holland in 2005, and attended Bhakti Yoga festivals of his around the world, including parikrams every year between 2005 and 2010. She moved to New Zealand in 2007 and has been living on family land in the hills near the Kaimaya mountain range in the Bay of Plenty, North Island, with her husband, Dhruva Prabhu, and his parents, Bhadra Didi and Narayan Prabhu, and a handful of other godbrothers and sisters. She and her husband, Dhruva Prabhu, have been serving prasad at summer festivals in New Zealand for 15 years under the umbrella of One Love Charity, founded in 2008. They have organized the annual Tiranga Diwali and Holy Color Splash Festival with over 3,000 people attending over 4 years now, where they serve prasad, give out books with Thakurji displayed, and speak some entry-level Harikatha on stage to the audience. They have 3 children, Ramana Manjari Dasi, 7, Vinod Bihari Das, who's 3, and Nayana Manjari Dasi, who's 1. So very busy. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Didi. And it's all.
Thank you, Karuna Didi.
Yeah, welcome, Bela Didi. I'm so happy to hear you speak today.
Thank you, Chadu Didi. Namam Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine. I don't feel qualified in any way to speak on any spiritual matter as presented by our Guru Raga. However, for my own purification, to become humbler, and with the desire to please our Srila Gurudev, I thankfully accepted Chadu Didi's invitation to speak a few words about what I heard and read from Srila Gurudev. My presentation won't be very long, and there are some connecting points to what you said, Bhadra, just before. So we are in great danger. We are in the midst of so many disappointments. In our senses, they pull us this way and that way. And we rely on our free will and on our poor capacity to select what's good for us. Hence, we are in great danger. And Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Guru, he is the doorway to our real welfare. As Bhadra Didi described before, we Bhadra Jivas, we are hankering for love. We look for this love and we want to fulfill it. We want to fulfill this love in worldly relationships, like with mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, but we will never truly be satisfied. And I can speak from my own experience here. However, when we receive this transcendental relationship to the Lord, as Sri Guru can give us, then we can be truly satisfied. Srila Prabhupada, in one of his purports in Srimad Bhagavatam, he gives some symptoms of pure unalloyed devotional service, as Sri Guru does. And he says, the pure devotee of the Lord, one of his symptoms is ahatuki, which means without reason. There's no selfish desire, no selfish motivation. And this is also the first symptom of anyabilasita sunyam, unalloyed, uninterrupted, unmotivated flow of devotional service to the Lord. So without desire, selfish desire. And another symptom of a pure devotee is without cessation, 24 hours, day and night. Our Gurudev, he was of this high caliber. He would think of Krishna, serve him 24 hours a day, and without any selfish desires. Srila Gurudev, he would beckon us to come to Vrindavan, where the gopis live. He wouldn't ask us to come to Vaikuntha or Dwarka, where Krishna is very important, royal with 4 arms. No, Gurudev, he would come and ask us, come to Mathura, or even better, come to Vrindavan. And more specifically, come to Giriraj Govardhan. And there's a very special place, Radha Kund. And this is one of the specialities of our Gurudev. He would want us to come to this very sacred, sweet pastime place. So here in Vrindavan, where the gopis live, they say, oh, our eyes are fruitless, they are hopeless, unless we have darshan of Krishna. Their eyes are bhav netra, their eyes are of transcendental emotions. They see Krishna with walking through the forest and playing his beautiful flute song. They don't want to see Krishna as the killer of many demons. No, they want to see Krishna as the sweet Kishore boy playing his flute. And so was our Srila Gurudev. He was always immersed in this concept of Krishna. And he would tell us, oh, without Radharani, Krishna is zero. Sometimes Krishna would play the flute and Radharani would hear it. And she tells him, she would forcibly grab the flute and play on his flute to show him how to play it correctly. So our Gurudev, he sees Krishna like this. He has bhav netra. He has these eyes of transcendental emotions. He can see Radha Krishna playing the flute and the peacocks dancing and say, oh, what an expert Vamsiwala, what an expert flute player he is. And the gopas nearby clapping very happily and singing, Jai Ho Tamari Krishna, Jai Ho Tamari Krishna. Yeah, our Gurudev, he has given us such wonderful scenes and pastimes. He has given us a glimpse of Lokik Sambandha, of this intimate relationship with the Lord. In Vrindavan, Krishna is the sweetheart, the darling, the familiar family member for the gopis. He's their Lala. So of such high caliber our Gurudev is. And he was always a perfect example of Guru Nishta and of deep dedication to fulfill his Gurudev's desire. Srila Gurudev would always glorify his Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pracar Keshava Goswami Maharaj, and the entire Guru Varga. And he would remind us how fortunate we are that we have come in their line. With their appearance, and also Srila Gurudev's, they brought this divine love and affection of the gopis to this world. But how can we follow the footsteps of such high-class Vaishnavas and become attached like them, like the gopis, to Krishna? If a guru can give some attachment to Krishna, then he's actually guru. And our Gurudev, he came to give this gopi prem, this madhurya bhakti. And this is our vichar, our goal, but it's a very high goal. So Srila Gurudev would always remind us, stay strong, keep chanting, and remain in good association, so that one day we may become qualified to receive this gopi prem, this madhurya bhakti. So Rupa Goswami has explained the nature of this gopi prem madhurya bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada came to give this mood of the gopis to us. And so did our Srila Gurudev. But are we ready to receive it? At a place called Dash Ashwamedha Ghat, the gut of the 10 sacrifices, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Srila Rupa Goswami about what it takes to become qualified to receive this transcendental mood of the gopis. Srila Prabhupada, he spent, and many other acharyas, they spent most of the time cutting jungles. So our Gurudev, he was determined to give this high class of sweet pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna to us. But he reminded us one thing is important to start this journey. It's Shraddha. And there are two types of faith, Shraddha. One is transcendental, one is mundane, material, and one is transcendental. And we are really after this Lobhamoy, transcendental Shraddha, which comes from hearing of the sweet pastimes of the Lord from a Rasik Vaishnava. And when we hear with some Shraddha, Bhakti Devi will come. Bhakti Devi is a person, she's a potency of Radharani. So first Shraddha will come, which is a portion, a particle of pure Bhakti. And then Bhakti Devi will appear. And what will she bring? She will bring some lobha, some greed to imbibe these moods. But first there has to be Shraddha. And this is our vichar, our goal, to, with Shraddha and with this lobha, to receive this gopi prem from a Rasik Vaishnava. Srila Gurudev would give this beautiful example of Uddhav. When he went to Vrindavan and he saw the gopis and he saw their high level of love and expressions of separation from Krishna, he prayed, oh, I want to become a blade of grass or a particle of dust in Vrindavan, to be close to the lotus feet of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. This is this very high goal, vichar. In the evenings, Srila Gurudev would often speak about these very high topics, but in the mornings, he would speak about the teachings of Sri Upadeshamrita and the nectar of instructions, beginning with Vachuvegam Manasukroda Vegam. He wanted us to follow these rules and regulations. And at the same time, he instructed us to sing Sri Kamala Kucha Mandala and Munindra Vrinda Vandite. These are very high songs. Srila Gurudev, he gave us a hint, or he gave us many hints of how to practice Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Starting with Shraddha, and then some greed, some intense greed may come. What we need is Shri Guru in our lives, Shri Balaram Prabhu, with his club, he grinds up our anarthas. And with the plow, he tills and he fertilizes our hearts to make them ready to receive this transcendental gift. Srila Gurudeva was very near and dear to Krishna in his male form. He, as an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. But who is he really? In his eternal, transcendental spiritual form, he is a beautiful Manjari, maidservant of Srimati Radharani, always serving her, always being close to her. So with this mood, with this conception, Srila Gurudeva, he would instruct us to pray to Shri Guru to take us to, please Gurudev, please take me to the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari. And then Rupa Manjari would take this Sakhi to Lalita and Vishaka. And Lalita and Vishaka Devis, they would take us to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, who then would ask, oh, who is this new Sakhi? And Srimati Radharani would then put us into the hands of Rupa Manjari again and say, oh, you keep this Sakhi, you train her up, make her become expert in all the arts of dancing, cooking, playing instruments. So this is our Gurudev's mood. This is the vichar, the goal that he came to give us, this understanding. But it should first, Shraddha should come. Srila Gurudev is a giver of Gopi Prem. And although we want to receive it, no attachment is coming. And this is because our hearts are full of unwanted things, full of worldly desires for sense gratification and so on. But Srila Gurudev, he promised that love and attachment, they're bound to come once our hearts are simple and pure and ready. And he would give the example of the Mathura Brahmanis, of the Yajna Patnis, who are in Mathura, and from the fruit sellers who go back and forth from Vrindavan to Mathura, they would hear about Krishna and about his beautiful pastimes. So in that way, with some Shraddha, they were hearing the pastimes of Krishna. And then some lobha, some greed came into their heart. And they really desired to see Krishna face to face. And he fulfilled the desire. And even more so, he gave them an opportunity to serve them. And some of us here, we may remember sitting on this treetop, hilltop temple at the outskirts of Vrindavan, at this very Rasastali place, pastime place of the Mathura Brahmanis, and listening to this beautiful pastime. And these are very, very special memories many of us have. Srila Gurudev, he gave us many hints and instructions how to follow the greatest devotees of the Lord, the gopis. I would like to finish here, and I pray that every one of us will stay strong, and by following Gurudev's instructions, be sustained until the next fortunate opportunity arises to have Srila Gurudev's divine darshan. All glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to the devotees of the Lord. Panchakalpatubhyascha kripasunibhyacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai. That was beautiful. Very, very, very sweet. Indeed. Wow. I haven't heard you speak so much, but wow. Do you give many classes there in New Zealand?
When we have our gatherings, I would do my best to speak for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you should speak more. It's very, very nice. Very heartfelt, I felt when you were speaking. Yeah, so you were just explaining how everyone is looking for love, and in this material world we search for that for our family members and friends, others in this world. But of course the heart can never ever be completely satisfied with that, and always there's this feeling of lacking, like kind of emptiness in the heart. So you were explaining how Srila Gurudev, he came, and of course other acharyas, they came with this very, very special gift, this gopi prem, and how Gurudev would always invite us to Braj, come with me to Vrindavan, especially like you said, Govardhan, and most especially Radhakund, so, and he opened the curtains of the beautiful, sweet leelas that are going on eternally in Braj, and he gave us a peek, to try to incite some greed in our hearts to aspire to go there. So but you mentioned this point, it was a very nice point, that Gurudev's showing us, but at the same time he's saying, are you ready to receive this? And like you said, we may have so many anartas, unwanted things in our hearts, so many desires, and it may be very difficult for us to really develop that greed, but Gurudev's tempting us in so many ways, trying to capture our mind and heart, like you said. So always, even though you mentioned that in the mornings Gurudev would speak some Tattva Vichar, maybe from Upadeshamrita and other books, lay the foundation, but oftentimes he would, at the same time, he would give us that sadhana by which we can really enter, like singing all these beautiful astakams, Manindra Bindavantate, and so on. So actually, like Bhadradidi was saying, that the only way that we can become free from the entanglement of this material world, and you were adding the cherry on the cake also, that if we really want to attain this very, very, very high and most high and rare goal, then we have to completely dedicate ourselves at the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev, and is any Rasikacharya who is actually there engaging eternally in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavan Braj, and serving Nikunja Yuno Rati Kelly Sitya Yayali Be Ktira Pensaya, serving as a Manjari, and inviting us to realize our Sarup. And Gurudev wants to place us in the hands of Rupa Manjari, who wants to place us in the hands of Lalita Saki, who wants to place us in the hands of Srimati Radhika, who will direct the Sakis and Manjaris to train us fully in this Manjari Seva. So this is our goal. And you mentioned about the Yagnapatnis and other Fruitsala and others who had this greed, and for us to, by association, we can develop such greed for this Gopi Prem, as the title of your talk was. So, so you've given us some could say, seed, you know, that was given to us by Srila Gurudeva and our Acharya Srila Prabhupada also. So just for us to actually always remember that this is the goal. So we can be doing so many things in this world, in our lives. We could be engaged so much with our families and, you know, in our jobs or whatever, but always remember that this is the goal and this is the most important thing in our lives. And we can, Gurudev used to always say that, you know, when we were in maybe Bhaja festival, New Braj festival, or any other festival, that, you know, don't worry about your jobs, don't worry about your families, just leave them all behind and come here, you know, be with me here. Because I have such a great gift I want to give you. Like Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I brought these fruits of prem, and who would like to take them? Who has that greed to take them? And if no one has that greed, then I may as well just return from where I came. But Srila Gurudev doesn't want us to return. He wants us to stay on this path, but not only stay on this path, develop more greed for this goal and practice, really practice to attain it. So thank you so much, Bela Didi, for such a nice presentation, as did Bela Didi. And there was some questions, so if you'd like to stay, Karuna Didi, I don't know if you're still here and you want to ask the questions or want me to. Let's have a look. Okay, so Taruni Didi is asking, okay, we hear many times people saying, this Mahabhagavat said such and such for preaching, but actually they didn't mean it. Actually, it's like this. How can we, oh, you know, she's saying like, oh, actually, it's not like this. So how can we discern the difference between when something truthfully was given in a simple way for preaching, and when a person sincerely or otherwise has become confused about the Mahabhagavat's actual teachings? So maybe, hope I worded that correctly, Taruni Didi, just correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I was just reading what she wrote. So I guess that could be addressed to Srimati Bhadra Didi first, if you'd like to say something about that.
Okay, well, my response to that would be that, as I mentioned, that there are different levels of Siddhanta. Some of them are moon on the branch. Some of them are put very, very simply. They're not actually to be taken literally necessarily. And the Mahabhagavat knows exactly when to apply what level of information. And if somehow we discover that perhaps something the Mahabhagavat has said is not really as it is, or appears to be not to be taken literally, then don't be confused by that. Just be patient, keep listening, keep inquiring, keep studying, and gradually the buddhi will develop, the intelligence, the spiritual intelligence will develop with the chanting of the holy name and the association of Vaishnavas. And the clarity, what is actually meant, what the Mahabhagavat actually meant, will eventually become clear. I've had this experience myself with my Guru Srila Prabhupada, of course. I've had this experience, and things have become clear. Sometimes, with some points, it's even taken decades before I really realized what he meant. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
Right. Yeah, very, very good answer. Very perfect. Yeah, I think as we go on, like you said, as we're advancing, and the pure devotee Guru will reveal more and more as we go on. Yeah, definitely. So, Truni Didi, is that okay?
Hare Krishna Dhanavats.
I do.
Yeah, I do really appreciate that. At the same time, we see people becoming very bewildered, and I think that it must be quite easy. I mean, Sundar Gopal Prabhu is giving a presentation tomorrow, because apparently for many decades, people have been bewildered, thinking Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur spoke something different from Srila Jiva Goswami. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it is. Maybe you're more familiar. And so, I mean, but I'm hearing from you, you're saying you have to be sincere and pray in your heart and follow the process and associate with advanced Vaishnavas. And in this way we can become clear.
Yes,
Yes.
it's like our intelligence is still bewildered, you know. It's not as though we suddenly become pure just because we start chanting Hare Krishna. It's a gradual process, and it's just a matter of being patient and continuing with the process, and gradually more and more clarity will come, and things will become reconciled.
Yeah.
But you know, we have to be patient. That's what my Guru Srila Prabhupada used to say: have patience, patience and perseverance.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, is Mukunda Prabhu still here? I noticed he was here before, but maybe he's gone by now. He's quite a pandit as well. Maybe say something if he wanted. I think he's gone now. Okay, yes, that'll be a very, very good presentation tomorrow, I think, by Sundar Gopal Prabhu on Jiva Thakur as well. He's really studied that quite deeply, all the different acharyas angles on that, like you said, Jiva Goswami and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So yeah, anyway, are you there, Mukunda Prabhu? Did you just come? Oh no. Okay. All right. So was there any other questions? Can't see. Let me have a look. Don't know if there was any on Facebook or anything. Yeah, a lot of devotees saying thank you so much for the talks. Very, very good talks. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, there is one question. Sorry, Krishna Premavati Didi. She's asking, is accepting the spiritual master as Ma Bhagavat a subjective decision? That's an interesting question. I don't know who would like to answer that. Bela Didi or Badra Didi? Do you want to give it a go, Bela Didi, and then maybe
No, I mean, I'll pass this to you, Badra. I have to go, dear devotees. I'm very sorry, but I need to go. So please,
No problem.
Badra, you answer. Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much, Bela Didi. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not really sure what is meant by subjective decision.
I'm guessing, I mean, if Krishna Premavati Didi wants to expand on that, she can. I'm guessing it means that in some devotees' eyes, that Vaishnav is a Ma Bhagavat Vaishnav, and in others, like maybe god brothers or god sisters, might not see their god brother sister as a Ma Bhagavat Vaishnav. But she said, because the disciple is supposed to see Guru as Ma Bhagavat, but we see that not all gurus are seen as such by all or leading devotees. Yeah, same point, I think.
Yeah.
Shridhar Maharaj talks about this in Shri Guru and His Grace as well.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah, he mentions God brothers and God sisters. He says that they may not see their God brother. Ma Bhagavat Vaishnav.
Yes. Well, the only thing that comes to me about that is that everybody will get a guru according to their level, according to their heart's desire, really. You can see that so many people accepted people who weren't qualified to be guru at all, Why did that happen? Because somehow or other they desired to be cheated at a subconscious level. And we might accept a guru who, in our eyes, is totally pure, but in the eyes of his god brothers and god sisters is not totally pure. Well, that, as you said, Charudidi, Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned this phenomenon. Apparently, it just is a phenomenon we have to deal with. Just face it. But I think that it's a matter of the god brothers and the god sisters who don't view their guru, god brother, as pure. They should not let that be known to the disciples. You know, just let the disciple and just let the disciple go on their journey they need to go on with that guru. And if they're sincere, they'll be guided. They'll be guided to a Shiksha guru of higher quality or whatever. But it's a matter of being humble. You know, everybody needs to be humble. The senior devotees, the gurus, the neophyte devotees. Humbleness is so essential. I can remember one thing that struck me like anything when it was being told by one of Gurudev's sannyasis. This sannyasi had said to Gurudev, and I didn't even hear Gurudev say this, I just heard it from the sannyasi, but it struck me that the sannyasi had said to Gurudev, Gurudev, is there any one particular verse in Shastra, any one particular verse that particularly pertains to me, you know, that I should know? And Gurudev said, yes. Trinada pisa nichena, torora pisa hishnina, amanina amanadena, kirtaniya sadahari. So I thought, oh, when I heard that, I thought, wow, you know, that I was more struck by that verse than ever before. How important it is. It's just such an important thing for us to notice our own pride. And we can do our bit to curb it, although actually only Guru can remove it. But if we know it's there, we can do our bit, and we can pray to Guru and chant more sincerely, please take away my pride. I don't want it. It's the destroyer of bhakti. And it's the destroyer of relationships within devotee communities too.
Yeah. Very good point. Yeah, what you were saying, Bhadra, back to you actually, Sridhar Maharaj says the same point, that even if we don't think that our god brothers are Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas, even if we don't have that vision, then we shouldn't disturb the younger devotees or their disciples, you know, but always maintain that respect. And actually, you know, to have that humility that we don't always see as it is anyway. How are we to really know who's who? So the best course is always Trinada Pisa Nishana, Tora Pisa Ishana, Amani Namanadena, to always offer all respect and not expect any respects for ourselves. So, but like this Krishna Premavati Didi was asking, that is it subjective? What would you say? Is it, or is it absolute that Vaishnav is Mahabhagavat Vaishnav? You know, like Srila Prabhupada is accepted as Mahabhagavat Vaishnav, Srila Gurudeva is accepted as Mahabhagavat Vaishnav, and others are, you know, is how would you see that?
Oh, I don't really have anything more to say than what I've already said. I think, yeah, we are attracted to a guru according to our adhikar.
Yes.
And somehow or other that experience of that guru will give us something, even if he falls down, as has happened to many people. Still, there's something in that jiva's sojourn which will ultimately be benefited from that. You'll learn something. although it may appear to be a big reversal. But yeah, he'll learn to be far more discerning next time, or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, our Gurudeva always used to say, you know, this verse, Tasmad Guru Prapacheta Jigna Sesha Udama Shabde Parajanishnatam Brahmana Pasamashram. These three qualifications of Sadguru, the Uttamadhikari Ma Bhagavat Vaishnav Guru, is that he's realized in Krishna and he's realized in Shastra, all the conclusions of the Shastras, and he's completely materially detached. So it's not always easy to see those qualifications, but certainly another Mahabhagavat Vaishnav Guru can reveal that. He can point, oh yes, he definitely has those symptoms. And you know, there's different, of course, what's revealed in your heart according to your adhikar, you know, the more sincere we are, the more sukriti, good samskars we have, then, you know, that will be revealed to us, the qualification of that Vaishnav Guru, I guess. So someone's making a comment here, what they're saying. Vanamali Didi says, Ma Bhagavat Vaishnav is all knowing. And yeah, okay. Krishna Premavati Didi is saying, thank you, Badra Didi. And so I need to find out where my search ends. So here's someone's asking what to do if after continuous endeavor one is not able to find a living guru free from faults. So yeah, I guess keep praying, but I don't know if you want to make a point.
Yes, I just keep praying and keep praying like, Krishna, please, Mahaprabhu, please give me a guru of the category of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. I want a guru of that category. And if we just keep praying, that prayer will be answered. But it will be answered in Krishna's time, won't necessarily come tomorrow. It's like a test, you know, we're being tested all the time. How sincere are we? How will we keep going day after day after day, year after year? We're tested. And it's a matter of just keeping going, keeping praying, keeping chanting. If you don't have a guru, then you're continuing to build your sukriti, your good fortune, by following the process. And have faith, the guru absolutely will come, but we cannot say when.
Krishna Premavati Didi said it may even be in the next life.
It may be. Meanwhile, we can take shelter of many advanced devotees. You know, we may see some fault in them, but so what? They've got many good qualities too. We can take, you know, association and feel nurtured by them.
Yeah, Gurudev said if we don't come across a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav Guru, then at least we can take shelter of a Majjhim Adhikari Vaishnav Guru.
Yes,
and they can lead us the way.
Yes.
And
there is so much this. Sorry.
Yeah, carry on.
There's so much available on all the words of our Mahabhagavat Gurus have been recorded. So make a commitment to listen to one of them for an hour a day or for half an hour a day. So that way, although it's like we were describing, it's separated, it's not exactly the same, but it's still their words. And it can be nourishing for us. It can help us advance, help us feel protected, connected, just to listen to them, read their books, all these things.
Yeah. Okay, that was wonderful answers. Thank you so much, Badra Didi.
Thank you, Chara Didi. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone.
Yes, thank you
to
the wonderful speakers. We had Shrimati Badra Didi and Shrimati Bela Didi. They gave very, very wonderful speeches, and yeah, we can learn so much from their presentations, and they're wonderful examples of Vaishnavis also. You know, they're living very simply. Radharani has led a very simple, austere life in devotional service, and Vaishnavi also with her family. So yeah, we can definitely try to follow their examples. So thank you very much, Didi.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Haribol, everyone. Radhe Radhe.
And there'll just be if anyone, Nalini Didi, I don't know if you're here, or Taruni Didi's here. If you like, Didi, could you lead us out with some more mantra?
Okay.
Thank
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Haribo Haribo Gaura Haribo Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Jai Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Haribo Shri Gurudev
Jai. Thank you so much, Taruni.
You're welcome. Thank you for a lovely
Very
program.
nice kirtan and very good question you asked. And thanks to everyone for joining today. It's late here now, so I think we're gonna sign off. So Vanchakalpadrupyascha Kripasindavevacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So next Friday will be Bhakti Basics. Hope to see you then. And the following Friday, again, Gurudeva Vani Vaishnavi Pracar. Okay, Hari Hari Bol, everyone. Dandavat Pranams.